What's up, Wrap Shop Academy? Recently, we sent out some surveys to approximately 1,000 people. And on that list was, which do you need help with? More leads, how to hire a better team, or a better work-life balance. And without question, hiring a better team or how to recruit people onto your staff was one of the #1 requested things that people are currently struggling with growing and scaling their vehicle wrap shops. So in this video, we're going to be going over the patterns that I noticed in the responses of the business owners, what we can do about it, as well as some tools/things that we can do as entrepreneurs/business leaders within our workplace to attract the team that we desire. So one of the responses that we received was, this person responded that they needed help growing their team and that they needed somebody as competent and talented as they were setting up art and print files. There is almost no skill setting up print files. There is 1,000% setting up art designs and fabricating this custom artifact that did not exist from nothing. But the actual setup of the files doesn't require any skill at all. What you need to do, if this is the current state of your business where you can't hand off that particular thing, I understand why you cling on to it. I did as well. Because you know that if there's an error in this step immediately, there could be waste in not only the print department, but as well as the install department. So it is an important role, but there is not a great amount of skill behind it. It's actually nothing more than just a structure of a process. So if we can outline exactly what to do, and more importantly, I've had this conversation a couple of times this week even, where you essentially only have to take the art file one time and you'll download, let's just say we go to Pro Vehicle Outlines and we download the Pro Vehicle Outlines art template. And from there, we go to Adobe Illustrator. We set up our mask file. We have our art file where we can do the design. We have our mask layer, and then we have layer 3. Now, what is layer 3? Layer 3 is your artboard structure. So let's just say it's a Chevrolet 1500 Silverado, okay? Doesn't matter which body style it is, this applies to all vehicles regardless. I would go ahead and draw my 48-inch tile across the whole section. I would do my seam at the 23.5 inches at the top. I would have, a section for the roof. I would already have my hood with bleed and everything. And you're essentially setting up an internal document for your business. It has now become not Pro Vehicle Outlines template per se, but it has now become, let's just say, your company name's art setup guide, right? And as every single vehicle that you do moving forward, if you would just document how you're going to slice it up, do it one time, and basically store this on your server or wherever your database of assets are for your digital files, you basically now slowly are building a library of templates. This problem repeats itself in many businesses over and over and over and over and over, but you're essentially setting up the same framework every single time. You're just doing it twice and 3 times and 4 times and 5 times and 6 times and 7 times. The really big shops that run efficiently and effectively have already gone through and said, this is our standard on how we are going to set up our run files, to where the designer is irrelevant. In my shop, we don't even have a designer in-house, and we pay our contractors to slice up the print files for us. And they send it to us how we asked for them to be received. So I highly recommend just setting up your files one time. It takes a little bit of time to do it really clean, but now you have a product that's repeated and your installers get used to it, to where every single truck, they know that they're gonna receive a 48-inch panel across the side and a 24-inch seam at the top, if that's how you do it. Or if you slice it up per door, then so be it. It doesn't matter how you do it. The point is that you only do it one time, you document it, and you put it into a library to be accessed later. So This person has a very easy thing that they can do in their business immediately to remove that pain point from their business. This is the easiest of all of them. This person said that of these three options, I would like a better team. I have a good team currently, but the newest hire, my vehicle wrap installer, is not open to new techniques and constantly challenging me to get more pay and fewer work hours. I have this problem with every full-time installer. They come to me for employment, I ask what their needs are, and I give them what they ask, and then they always want more. Now, there's a couple of angles to this. It is our natural human desire to see progress. And especially nowadays with everything being so fast, especially with the youth, the 20 to 30-year-old category, everything in their life has been fast. So if you don't have some form of outline or plan or roadmap for them, then the only thing that they can do is ask you. And we are going to get bothered when somebody feels entitled, right? That's a different story. But we don't know the whole story to this scenario either. And so I always play both sides. Like, there are 100% people that don't deserve more pay. But there are plenty of people who want to progress, want to do a good job in your workplace, and they want to be able to see a crystal clear outline of how they can be rewarded for it. And if you don't have that in place, they will leave and quit. In fact, I actually have a post that I saw the other day in a pretty small private group, and it basically just said, curious to see what you guys' policies are. I have an employee that started a side business, and they have, logo, name, website, advertises on Google, Yelp, Facebook, etc. And they're also taking time out of, employed hours during, while they're at that shop to answer phone calls, to take sales calls, etc. Now, I completely agree with the general sentiment of what the responses were, which was terminate that guy. He's a cancer, he's a this, he's a that. But what I saw was that's not allowed, but was everything done to ensure that that would not happen on the business owners or from the company's standpoint? Meaning, what was your hiring process for that individual? Did he know that he could not moonlight? Or was it left to assumption? Did he know that he had a crystal clear roadmap of how he could earn more within your company? Because the situation could be that the reason why he went out and looked for other work, it's not always the case, but he could have looked for other work because you didn't have enough for him in the first place. There was not enough opportunity. And so Mike Norg actually responded and said, this is the first thing that I go over with people, is that we don't allow people to do this and that they will be terminated immediately. So step one, outline the onboarding process. But then, the response to it kind of confirmed my assumption that basically this individual thinks that employees only want to take from the owners. And I've had a completely different experience with that. And I really feel that is because of our hiring process for the talent, very specifically our installers. Because those are the breadwinners in our company. Other than salespeople, they're the ones in control of their income. They're the ones who can pump out 1 unit extra a day, and it's like, holy crap, this is immediately valuable. Let me make sure I reward this person so they don't leave. And, my response to this was like, hey, let's review a little deeper. As an owner, it's our duty to ensure that individuals have opportunity in the workplace. And it's also our duty to where they know how they fit within that vision so that they don't go and create their own vision. And then, back to this entitlement thing, have meetings with your employees. Have meetings every single month, even if it's just for 10 minutes, just to do a vibe check or kind of see how things are going. Hey, What are your goals? Are we on track with your goals? How are things going? How's home? I've hired many people that I knew that they were going to go out and start their own business. I actually helped a guy start his handyman business, and he ran my production for a little while. I didn't teach him how to install, but he ran my production. And you know, in that time, I was like, hey, I'll help you start your handyman business. Come work for me, and like let's just do like a year or 2 years, whatever the time frame was, and we'll get you rocking and rolling. And I basically trained him on the components that I was aware of, or the things that I could help him with in his business. But I also knew the date that he was going to quit and go start his own business. I was in control just by having conversations with the people in my workplace. Now, another thing that you can do to essentially eliminate some of that entitlement is create an actual roadmap. I've talked about this on multiple videos, but when people come into the install position in my business, we have a roadmap to 100K. I got this from a salesperson that did door-to-door knocking for solar and AT&T and Comcast. And I hired him to help me build out my compensation structure on a reward-based program. And one of the first things that we did was to develop that roadmap to 100K, to where on day one, there is a crystal clear outline on exactly what the employee needs to do in order to hit a 6-figure salary. Wrap shop owners, when I was growing and scaling my vehicle wrap shop, there was absolutely zero business education. All of the main manufacturers focused on only teaching me how to install vehicle wraps. Nobody showed me how to run a business. And for that reason, myself, Dan Workman, and John Duver founded and created the Wrap Shop Academy. The Wrap Shop Academy is built and developed for you to be able to grow and get a grip on your business so that you're not repeating the same year over year. Our goal is to provide massive impact within your business and teach you how to be more than just an installer. So if you're interested in the Vehicle Wrap Shop Academy, click the link below, book a call with me, and let's take your business to the next level. And then the only thing, my job, is not to promote them anymore. I don't have to constantly have a 3-month or a 6-month or annual review with them. They know where they stand based on their efficiencies of their output for what they are doing. They know that if they can do 1 unit every 12 business hours, that they're gonna make about $50 an hour. And they also know how they can multiply their efforts by building a team beneath them, to where they can catch an override for the installers that they level up faster. And we even created an incentive that if they can actually get a new installer from level 0 to level 3, which is commission-based, in a certain period of time, that there's a bonus allocation as well. So by you creating an actual hiring process, like it literally will eliminate a lot of these circumstances for you. The next person said, I had an installer for 10 years who started the company with me, but he decided he no longer wanted to work on his scheduled days off from the fire department. I also had a guy here for about a year, and then he decided he wanted to start his own lawn service. So needless to say, I'm a bit gun shy about hiring and going through the process of having somebody trained just for them to walk out. Everything I just said about the last comment applies here. The only thing that I will add to it is that you can also be in control of just having them walk out as well. The adverse of it is them not being beneficial to you. So even if you have somebody work for you, let's just say for a year, they're still getting you from A to B, and then you're starting, you didn't lose back to A, you're at B now. And so the next hire that you hire is hopefully going to help you go from B to stay a little longer to E. And then you move your business along forward and you take those lessons that you learn, and all of a sudden you're at E, and then you just keep working your way forward. So there are learning lessons that you can have by hiring people and actually just going through the process. You're not going to pick 100% batting average of the right people at all times. But what you can do is create a standard for the onboarding process to where essentially you have a goal for them to meet on 30 days. and then a goal for them to meet at 60 days, and a goal for them to meet by 90 days. And if they don't meet that, then they can be at the potential of being terminated. Now, another person said that they were discouraged by the last time that they had a hiring process by the quality of candidates. Some even had the nerve, and this is actually kind of funny, some had the nerve to ask him to go pick them up to bring them to the interview. I don't have a very large operation, but I would like to grow to 3 to 4 people, including myself, and I would be where I'd like to be. Now, there are a lot of people on these advertising sites where you put up an Indeed post. There are some governmental assistance programs to where like while they're on unemployment, they just have to apply for 10 jobs a month. Like that is the case sometimes. Now, you can remove some of the emotional baggage. I use wisehire.com, and WiseHire allows for an automation. And essentially, when the application comes in for the individual, I can automatically send them an email that says, hey, are you still interested in this job? They only have 24 hours to respond. If they don't respond in 24 hours, meaning that they're actually serious about employment, then I move them to a lost status. I no longer look for them to be a potential candidate. It's a hoop, it's a little bit of friction. It's something that I do to where I don't have to constantly go through the baggage or sifting through the trash to get to what I want. I essentially say that my rule is you're gonna be responsive. I need somebody that's going to be eager and willing and desires to work here to an extent. So on my WiseHire ad, it states, I will send you a message, and if you don't respond in 24 hours, you will be, not a candidate. And so send out this automated message, and if they don't respond, then so sorry, too bad. Another secondary thing that I do too, before I'll even look at the application, is on WiseHire, their sister company is a disc profile assessment company. I also state in my ad that if you don't fill out the disc assessment, you will also not be looked at as a potential hire in our business. So can you follow directions, and are you highly interested in working with us? Those are two important things that we do to ensure that we are always getting quality people when we actually spend the time to bring them in to interview. So in the next part of this video, we're basically going to kind of go through and break down some things that I have done to greatly remove myself and allow myself to have the team that I have today. So the very first thing that I would do is, if you are a 1 to 3 man shop, you dramatically need to look at what position are you going to hire first. So in most cases, this is going to be an administrative position in most cases. And the reason why is because if you audit the onboarding process of an admin, the accessibility of people with this talent and skill, and the potential that they are the opposite of your skill set, the probability is really high. Versus the availability of a really good installer. So you probably have to teach them from the ground up. This is fine, but it takes more time. So the availability to build somebody up, the cash to pay for the great installer, if you do happen to have one, is going to be much higher than what a great admin would be. And the consequences for an installer making errors or mistakes has a much higher dollar against it on the consequences. So highly recommend identifying what position you need to hire first. Don't just think that you need an installer because you hear, hey, you need to work on your business, not in your business. Well, that takes time. You can't really work on your business only and not in your business until you're closer to $1 million in revenue, because you actually now have leverage through the workforce to allow you to do so. But early on, while you're a smaller team, the most important thing is hiring in the right order based on talent availability, as well as who complements the team the best on the dynamic, to where you have like crossover across all departments. And so essentially your admin's able to take care of all of your low risk and high volume tasks. This means follow up with customers. And as I just talked to somebody on Instagram where they said that they feel like a failure, yet he's a one-man show doing about $250,000 in revenue. And I was like, dude, you're crushing it. And he was like, well, I don't know when I can hire somebody, because I'm doing the same thing over year over year, but I don't know when I can actually hire somebody. I was like, well, frankly, you can hire somebody right now. You're just gonna take a little bit of a cut on your salary or your income for a period of time. It's crazy to think that somebody felt that they were failing when they are killing it. Doing $250,000 as one person. But I also told them that your perspective of hiring, it's never the right time to hire somebody. And he doesn't see the benefits in it yet because he has never tried. And so I challenged him to go ahead and proceed with hiring potentially an admin. And we kind of ran the numbers of what his capacity was based on his skill set, et cetera. And he can actually run about $360,000 with him staying as the installer role. He told me that he never follows up with leads at all. I was like, dude, you could immediately only basically like double your business, just about. Like, if you just followed up with more leads, he already has a great customer success. If you pick an admin first as your first hire, odds are it's not a role that you know a lot about in many cases. So what I highly recommend is just documenting everything that you do administratively. Talk to a camera. You're probably not great at writing SOPs, most likely. Admins are actually much better at writing SOPs than we are. And that's actually what I do at this point, is I document and then pass it over to my assistant, and then he actually fabricates the SOP for me. But in this case, you don't have the admin yet. So just document and film yourself and then explain everything almost as if it's in the third person, as if you're teaching somebody, and let AI take the transcript and build your outline for you. And then from there, create a clear outline on what your expectations are for that administrative role. So on week one, what do you want them to know? Is it how, like what materials we use? Why is it important for us to use those materials? What makes us different? And the ability to maybe send out estimates, not estimate, to send out estimates, right? And week two, you stack more duties on top of that. Week three, more duties, to where there's a clear and measurable goal on what they are learning each week, to where we can identify, how good is that training, and modify it if it needs to be, because your first revision of these SOPs are not going to be great. But it's going to give you feedback on, okay, they've asked me the same question 5 times. Let's go revise that system and process to where they don't have to ask me as much. And you basically just repeat this, but you break it up in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. And within the 30 days, you just have clear and measurable outcomes each week. Same thing with the 60, same thing with the 90s, but they start off as simple and they get a lot more grand. The second position we've already kind of talked about in this video, which would be kind of like a graphic designer / print and production guy. Same thing. This position's a little more nuanced. There's a lot of things that they can do to have issues and errors and mistakes. They could receive a file in RGB and print it in CMYK, and it's probably a fleet that you already done before, and the colors came out wrong. So we need to create all of the processes to run our print room. And the best way to do this is literally, again, while you are performing the task, record and document a video and put it in ChatGPT. It's literally that easy. And then you are building the systems and processes for the position. Now, The designer skill side of things, they probably already need to have. You can't, I personally don't know how to teach a designer to be a designer, but I can teach anybody to set up print files and run a printer without question. And you just need to make sure that, or that same architecture of 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, there's zero reason that you couldn't create a very straightforward, like by 60 days, they're capable of setting up and running prints. And this way, if for some reason you are the designer in your business, you can go ahead and start dispatching this work and get back to the actual skill component of that project, which is creating the next design. So, and then ultimately your install position, like this is the one that, is near and dear to my heart. This is the one that makes the most sense to me, being a great installer myself, that, basically the breakdown was week 1, you need to be able to install a hood wrap. Week 2, hood and fenders. Week 3, hood, fenders, back doors. And every single day you're spending 15 minutes to 20 minutes on trimming. It will be crystal clear whether that person is the right fit when you run that play. So one of the final things that we'll talk about in this video is going to be some tools and things that we can do to attract the talent that we desire. So now we have our outline and our frameworks of how we're going to advertise, on Wise Hire, the hoops that they're gonna have to jump through to even be a candidate. You have your outlines potentially for the individual roles based on what you intend to hire. But what can we do to give ourselves like an edge or an advantage? And, all of these things add up. It's kind of like a great installer. You don't just become a great installer because you can do one like massive technique and you pull that one technique and all of a sudden you're a great installer. To become a great installer, or even a great artist, if that's your proficiency, you basically have to stack these like little tiny micro advantages or these little skills that you've developed over time. And all of a sudden you put like 100 of those together and you've built a gap, right? That is your competitive advantage. That is what makes you a great installer. Every time I see somebody complain about there is no good help out there or nobody wants to work these days, I always ask one question. And that question is, what are you doing to attract the talent that you desire? And that could be all kinds of different things. In my case, I leverage, owning and being honorable to myself, having integrity with myself to where that when I spin this vision to these individuals, they know that I'm serious because I don't lie to myself. And then they see also other people winning on my team to where when we hire a new person, let's just say it's a new installer, and hell, even in this case, like AJ on my team, Riley recruited him. Riley believes in my vision. So I didn't even hire AJ. My team hired AJ. They were getting an oil change on our shop vehicle and saw a guy at an oil lube station, and the guy was disgruntled and wasn't happy in the workplace. And Riley's like, dude, go talk to my boss. My boss loves helping people and he loves providing opportunity. You should come work at Design It. And lo and behold, he quit his job before he even got the interview. Like, great people exist, but are you even attractive enough to catch their attention when the right person comes across the table? Do you have everything set up? That roadmap to 100K has been a game changer in my business alone. I preach it a lot, but having a way for them to see to where if I'm eager and hungry, I see the minimum time that I can extract that and get to that point so I can change my life. Like their own life is in their hands in a way, and I just gave them the roadmap or the GPS system to get there. But everybody's a candidate. If I would see a good server when I was living in the United States, if I saw a good server coming to the table, they had good ethic, they saw through the little things, they made great recommendations, they knew the product, I'm like, hey, I would love to just talk to you about what we do and see if you would be interested in a career change. Like, those guys work hard, and they also work on kind of a commission basis when you think about tips. So they could be a great salesperson or even a great installer if they wanted to change a field. Hell, sometimes your candidates are working already for somebody else. Now, I don't condone necessarily just going and stealing people, but like, what if the other person is not taking care of them? Do you have a culture or something to where they could see themselves in your workplace, to where when they come in and maybe they work one day as a contractor at your shop and the other guys on the crew are like, hey man, like it's really great here. Like, are your guys talking like that to people outside? Like, these are how you gain an advantage on attracting people. Be magnetic. Be attractive. I used to believe, like, I know it sounds dumb until it's not, because I was never that magnetic person. I was always the person that was like hidden. I can tell you that one of the best things that I ever did was get in shape and do the ultra endurance things that I've done, because I honored myself every day. I didn't lie to myself. I kept truth to myself. And then when I spoke about things, I spoke about things much more confidently to the other people on my team. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, if he's gonna do that, even when I know he doesn't like to do that kind of thing, then he's definitely gonna do these other things he's telling me. And that becomes highly important in capturing these people that we want to attract on our team. So everybody out in the workplace is a candidate. You need to be constantly talking to people. You need to constantly have ads on Wise Hire, not when you need somebody. It's kind of like getting a loan at the bank. When you don't need money, you can get all the money in the world. But whenever you need the money, nobody's going to lend to you. It's the same with the workplace. Be available. Be marketing always your business so that whenever the time comes, you have options. And raise your standards. Don't settle for C-tier people. The biggest waste that you will experience in hiring is hiring people that are less than. It is highly imperative to try to hire people that are better than you at whatever it is that they do, to where you're not managing them. Instead, they're telling you what they're going to do about something. Essentially, success in entrepreneurship is fundamentally about buying back our time. It is meant to give us freedoms. It is not meant to allow us to just work for ourselves and create this weird prison that a lot of us create for ourselves. And we can build our businesses however we want. You don't have to build a massive shop. That is not what I mean by growing and scaling your business. I mean, what do you really want from life, and like, what does that even look like? And how are you going to actually arrive at that? And I was having a conversation with an installer the other day who, he injured himself. He hurt himself really bad to where he couldn't work, and he's still a solo entrepreneur. And it finally opened up his eyes that he's not getting any younger. He's in his mid-30s, and he's got a family, but he also, all his income stopped when he couldn't install. And he told me that just flat out, like, it's time for me to grow. It's time for me to learn how to multiply my efforts so that this business doesn't solely rely on me. Because if it solely relies on you, all it takes is one thing and you could be taken out of the game. And then everybody is affected by your inability to grow and multiply your efforts. I think it's okay for you to be a solo entrepreneur, just know the cost. And I highly recommend everybody at least build a team of 3 to 5 people, because at least then your team can kind of step up as needed and you got something to keep it moving. So building a business is beautiful. It is also the most miserable thing that you will ever do. And it's because we deal with people, and people are unpredictable. So short and sweet today. So Merry Christmas to everybody, and we'll see you on the next one.